Well, good morning, everybody. I'm happy that you're here today. We are going to be doing some watercolor today. So I need you to get your brush out, your Japanese brush, and your watercolors that look like this. And I also need you to get out your paper, your special paper that I got you. You're just gonna need one piece for right now. So go ahead and pull out one piece of paper. Make sure that you've got something on your table to protect it because you don't want to mess up anybody's table. But you just need one piece, okay? So there's a rough side and a smooth side, okay? I would probably prefer that you would turn it onto the rough side, and we're gonna paint on that. Now I'm gonna take the rest of this and I'm gonna move it over to the side so it's out of the way. This is called rice paper. And this is what we're going to be using today. It's hanashi paper. So it's even the packaging's really neat, isn't it? Now, let's look at what we've got today. Let me scoot this over. We're going to be painting a picture of the Japanese cherry blossoms today. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to be using our watercolors, like I said, and we're going to be using your fancy brush that is from Japan. So I'm going to be using this brush that I made because I cannot find my brush, my fancy brush that I bought. But this is one that I actually made when I went to the Tennessee Arts Academy a few years ago. We took real animal hair. The man had a whole bunch of different kinds of animal pelts. And so we picked out some hair that we wanted to use. And then we took a piece of bamboo. And the bottom of the bamboo, we kind of had to drill it out a little bit. And then, I don't think you can see, maybe you can, I don't know. But at the very end, what we had to do was we had to take some string and hold the piece of fur or hair and wrap some string around it. And then we had to shove it down into the bamboo, and we put a special kind of glue down in there. Then just for decoration, I wrapped some red embroidery floss around there to make it look nice. And then I made a little tassel to go on the end just so I would be able to tell which one was mine. And my friend Cody, I don't know how I ended up with his, but I've got to get it to him. He made one as well. His looks a little bit different. See how he used a different kind of hair than what I used. And mine's wet, so that's why his is a lot fluffier. It looks like a little tail, doesn't it? So it's pretty fun to make your own brushes and things like that. So I'm going to use this. We're going to see how it goes. You never know. But I'm going to start out using this just because I can't find the brush that I bought to do this with, like you guys had. So I'm going to aim the camera down so you guys can see, and we'll get to work. All right, so I'm going to try really hard not to bump this, and hopefully you guys can see it okay. All right, so the first thing you got to do is you're going to wet your brush, and I'm going to do some brown first. So I'm going to take the brown and I'm going to make my branch. Now your brown branch, your branch is going to start out and it's going to be thick. And then as it goes toward the end, you're going to pull up at the end and make it skinnier. So you're just going to make some thick and then pull up your stick at the end. So you're pressing down and then you're pulling up. Now, I can't remember exactly what those brushes look like, but hopefully yours is gonna do kind of the same thing that this one does. So this one is very thin on the end. All right, so as you go up, you're going to make your little parts of the end of your sticks are going to get skinnier and skinnier. And it's okay if you kind of mess up a little bit because you're not going to be able to see everything when you get finished because you're going to be adding the pink cherry blossoms or the red cherry blossoms. Now, I want the end of my brush to be the end of my branch to be thicker, because I want it to look like one big branch is kind of coming out from the edge of the paper. So I'm going to keep adding on. Making it get bigger and bigger at the bottom, because it starts out big at the bottom and then it gets smaller as it goes up. So this is going to be like where the tree would join the rest of the big part of the tree. This is the branch that's coming off. So we're going to go right here. We're going to keep adding to our cherry branch of our tree. And so you've got all of your, you've got your main branch, and then you've got all these other small ones that come off to the edge. And it's okay if you kind of mess up a little bit, because sometimes the branches break and they're not all going to be perfect. So you're just going to make the little pieces come off, just like a real tree would do, okay? So you might have to add a little bit more water. Remember our watercolor paint, these are a little bit moist, but you have to add the water to them to get them to work. So I'm going to make this part of my branch a little bit thicker where it comes off. And you're just going to make some more sticks come down. And then you've got other ones that come off of those. I'm just going to keep on adding. And the more paint that you add, the thicker the branch is going to get. And that's okay. If you get a chance today, I want you to go outside and look at the branches that are on the trees around your house and see how they are, where they come out from that main part of the tree, they're thick. And then the further out they go, the thinner they get. So I want you to really pay attention to that. Now you don't want to get way too much water, because if you do that, it's going to make the paper really weak. So you want to try to not get too much water, but at the same time you want it to flow pretty. You know, you want your paint to flow. So there's a kind of a thin line between too much water and not enough water. So that's part of learning. And that's why I gave you more than one piece of paper, because I wanted you to practice and try some different things. I thought it would be neat for you to try a different kind of brush. Now, if you're having a hard time with that special Japanese brush, you might want to just use your regular brush that came with your paint. So you guys will have plenty of paint left over from these projects that you can use them again when we start another project in another month. That's why I got you these nice praying ones. There's a lot cheaper ones that you can get, but I wanted you guys to have some nice quality watercolors, just because I love the praying. These are student grade watercolors, but I think they're some of the best ones, because I've tried, even the Crayola I don't think is as good as the praying, and a lot of my art teacher friends agree with me. They all like the praying the best, because the colors are so bright and vibrant. And remember, you can keep on adding more and more of your branches. And the farther out they go, the smaller and thinner they get. Remember that. So you're going to keep going until you got all your branches that you want. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go back with a little bit of black. Gonna add a little bit of black in because, you know, the trees are not all just brown. Sometimes they've got streaks in them. We want to make it look really cool. So I'm gonna add a little bit on the bottom edges of my branches. I'm gonna add a little bit of black to make it kind of look like a shadow. So I'm gonna go down through here and add some black in at the bottom of some of my branches. You don't have to do all of them. Maybe the ones that you didn't particularly like the way that they ended up, you could even add some more on there like that. Okay. Now when you get that the way you like it, you're going to rinse out your brush. We're going to go over to the red. Now, sometimes cherry blossoms look more pink than red. So what we're going to do is add a lot of water in there with it. And I'm going to mix that in the top of my container. I don't know. Let me scoot that over a little bit so you can see. So I've added some water in the top, and I'm putting my red over in there, and I'm adding more water to it. A little bit more red in there. That lightens it up. The less water you have with that red, the more red it's going to look. And I want mine to look kind of like a lighter pink. It's going to have a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dab at the end of my branches. I'm just going to dab some of the paint at the edge. Now, this is where you're going to have a really light touch for some of it, because the more that you get on there, the more it's going to spread out. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be any particular thing, but you just are going to barely touch the ends. And like I said, I can't remember how big exactly the ends of yours are. I think yours are a little bit bigger than the ends of mine. But you can see how it's leaking through. That's why it's important that you have something underneath your paper. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna go back. You're kind of probably gonna see through mine. You can probably see that the tablecloth is kind of showing through. But you're gonna overlap it too. You don't want it to just be stopping. It can go past these other branches on your tree. I'll add a little bit more red in there. And so all I'm doing is just making like some little squigglies around there to make it look kind of like blossoms. I'm just tapping it on the end to make it look like the little flowers on the tree. Because from far away, you can't see the individual little blossoms. You can only see the little blobs of the pink. So if you're far away, of course you're not going to be standing right up next to these cherry blossoms. You're going to be kind of far away, so you don't want it to be every little individual blossom. You're just seeing parts of the colors. So you're going to put it on there, and you can bounce your brush up and down to make the little edges. But you just barely touch that brush to your paper, and it'll bleed, because this paper's so thin. It's gonna bleed, and when it dries, it's gonna look different than what it looks like right now. Get a little bit more on there. And you can go back in and add some more. Like I said, as it dries, it's going to look different. Remember, this is my other one that I did. Now on this one, I just used black just to see what it would look like. So you can experiment with your different pieces of paper and see which way you like it better. But this one, I just really wanted you to kind of experiment using a different kind of brush than what you're used to. I thought since we were studying in Japan, it would be cool for you to have a brush that's more like what they would use than what we would use here in America. Because they have different things that they're used to using. And so for years and years, they have these people called calligraphers. And calligraphy is actually means beautiful writing, I believe. And I do calligraphy with pens that look like this. These are called dip pens. And so I have a special kind of ink, and you dip the pens down in this ink. And we might do some calligraphy in another class, but this is a different kind of calligraphy. The Japanese did calligraphy with brushes, and they had a different styles of brushes for their calligraphy. They did that in China as well. Japanese and Chinese people both used the bamboo brushes. And they used the bamboo because bamboo grows really quickly. And that's what the pandas eat, you know, is the bamboo, the big bamboo shoots is what the pandas eat in China. So there's plenty of bamboo around because it grows really quickly. So that's what they use. That's what this is made out of. This brush that I have is made out of bamboo. And so I can't remember if you guys, I'll have to see if I can find some more of those brushes. Like I said, I bought you guys those brushes, and then I went back and got me one, and now I can't find it anywhere, so I've stuck it somewhere. But I thought this one would be close to it. But you can just kind of take the edge and just make your little blossoms coming out. And you're just going to practice making your little clumps of the blossoms. And if you want to, you can kind of round them off a little bit. They're real pretty little flowers up close. In Washington, D.C., we have lots of cherry blossom trees. And when they bloom, it's so pretty. You can probably Google a picture of the Capitol with the cherry blossoms everywhere. It's really something to see. And then when the wind blows, the cherry blossoms fly off the trees everywhere. It's so, so pretty. So you add it over to the top and really saturate your brush. It's kind of hard to control the bristles on this brush just because they're so long. But it gives an interesting look, which is fun to kind of try with. You might want to try experimenting making your own brushes. You could get just a stick out of the yard, and you could put some cotton on some of the brushes, like little cotton balls, to see how that does. Or you could try some other kind of materials. Maybe you've got some, let's see, what could you use? Maybe some old yarn or something, and you could tie some of that around there and see what happens when you make marks with that. Watercolor is really fun to play with because it cleans up easy and it doesn't make a huge mess. So you might want to try using your watercolors and some different things just to see what happens. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun to just kind of see what you come up with. Everything that you make doesn't have to end up being some masterpiece. Sometimes you just want to play around and just see what happens. And that's what I'm hoping that you guys are getting out of a lot of this, is just trying some different things that you haven't tried before. Because that's what it's all about. That's my goal, is for you guys to just be exposed to a lot of different things and to try some new things. I'm even going to try my other hand and just see, like, use the hand that you don't always use and just make some marks and see where it takes you. Just kind of tap, tap, tap. I hope you guys have been having fun doing all your different art lessons. I can't wait to see what you come up with. I think that maybe some of you are having a hard time, and it won't let me send invitations like I was wanting to for the other people. Like, I think I sent you all one from the very beginning, but it says something like I can only send invitations to people that have been on the page. So tell your parents or whoever's doing this with you to go on Artie All the Time on the page and just like maybe upload a picture to that, just the regular Artie All the Time page. Maybe say something about, you know, the Creativity Club or something. And then I'll see if maybe after you've said something on that page, maybe it'll let me add you to the group again. I haven't really figured out this whole thing with the groups. It's kind of sketchy with some of it. I don't understand why I can't just send you another invite, but it's saying that I can't. And remember just to go back and add some more to the different little branches. Right. Now I'm gonna let that dry for a little while and see what I think about it, and I'll come back later and we'll see if we need to add anything. Okay guys, I'm back. I wanted to show you, sometimes things happen and that's okay, and they mess up. So I accidentally dropped a big blob of brown up here. Sometimes that kind of thing happens, and there's nothing you can do about it when it's paint. You can't erase paint. Paint doesn't erase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cover it with some red to make my cherry blossoms bigger maybe. So I'm going to take my other brush that I had in my container, and I'm just going to kind of go around it like this. And like I said, it may end up looking awful, I don't know. But I decided I was going to kind of go around some of my other cherry blossoms just to make them look a little darker and to put some little texture in them. And so I'm going to go back over some of the other stuff that I did, and I'm just going to add like little edges. And I'm not going to color it all in or anything. I'm just going to make some little, like little squiggles here and there, just to give it some depth. Now, you might want to let it dry a little bit before you do that. And you can always go back and add some more branches in, like I was showing you a while ago. Now, see, this is a big old, we'll have to see what happens when this dries. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. So for next month, we're going to be using the watercolors again. But I'm going to send you some more red. Since we used red for this, I'll send you another little container of the red. And I think all the other colors are okay. We really didn't use a lot of the other colors. Now, I'm going to go around this little edge and put some more red. Like I said, I'm not going to do it on all of it. I'm just going to kind of add a little bit, maybe at the ends. And this is a whole lot easier to control. I'm going to add some more water in there so it's not quite so dark red. I'll go around these little edges a little bit. Put in just a little bit on here. Wiggling around a little bit. And just where some of those are so pointy on the end, I just want to kind of round those off a little bit. I don't want them to be too pointy. So I'm going to round off the little edges a little bit like this. And then go inside of there. And see how that's giving it some definition? So don't give up. If you don't like the way your painting looks, don't give up on it. Keep playing with it and see if you can change it so you like it more. See, I didn't like those little sharp edges, so I'm just using this brush. This is the one that came with the paint. I'm gonna add some more water. And go around these little edges. And remember, you're learning. Yours does not have to look like mine. This is your project. So if you want to add more branches, add some more branches. If you want to add in some different color flowers, you can. Cherry blossoms are pinky color, but if you want to add some yellow in there, add some yellow in there. It's totally up to you, or whatever color you want to do. That's the best part about it. You might want to take some blue and color some background, or make some mountains that are gray off in the distance. Maybe I'll make some mountains back here just to kind of cover up that big brown blob. I don't know. We'll see what happens. The cool thing about it is you've got some extra paper, so if you did mess up, you can just try it again. It is not a big deal. It's just all about the learning process, and you don't need to stress out over it. This is not life or death. It's not the be-all, end-all. You're learning, and you're not expected to get everything perfect the first time. That's the thing about it. You're learning how to do stuff, so don't stress out. Just kind of going over this. And the reason why I'm going inside part of it is just to give it some depth. And I missed a few little branches, so I'm going to add some more of the cherry blossoms to that. So anywhere you want to add some more color, you're welcome to, until you get it like you want it. If you want to make some kind of blowing off in the breeze, you can. They don't even have to be attached to a branch if you don't want them to be. But yeah, it's just something fun to do. You can kind of experiment with your painting. See what works for you and what kind of style you like. Maybe some of you like for it to be kind of abstract where it doesn't look realistic, and some of you might want yours to look really real. That just takes a lot of practice, guys, and that's what this is all about. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. So don't stress out if it's not exactly the way you want it. This is the first time you've probably ever tried this, so that's why you want to just keep on keeping on and make sure that you pay attention to what you're doing and try to do a good job. Now, you've probably noticed that in this set of paint, there's not a white. That's because your paper's white. And so the idea is that you will leave things white that you don't want. With watercolors, that's just kind of how it works. But you can buy other kinds of paint that are red, and there's nothing wrong with going back over other pictures that you've painted with maybe an acrylic kind of paint, or even if you had some gel pens that are white, if you wanted to go back and add in some details. That's called mixed media. And mixed media means that you're using different art mediums. So you might use watercolors, and you might use some acrylics with that, and you might use some ink, and you might use, some collage on there. That's the cool thing. There's all kinds of different mediums to use in art, and that's really important to remember, because you might want to try some different things that you can accomplish with the watercolors, but you could use a different kind of ink and get the look that you might want. So that's why I'm trying to let you use all these different kinds of art mediums, is because you can use them all together. And that, like I said, that's called mixed media. So you might really enjoy that. I really like mixed media. I like using a whole lot of different things together. I really like collage. I think that's fun. We're going to do some collage next month with the artists that we're studying for July. And I think you're really going to like them, because it's going to be something totally different than what we've done this month. I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope you do anyway. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. I've gotten some emails from some of your parents and saying that you're having a good time, so I'm so glad. If you ever have any questions, all they have to do is send me a note, and I will be glad to help you with it. Let's see. I think I'm going to go back and maybe go right over the edges of my picture on part of it, just to kind of give it a little bit more of an outline, just a little more definition. And maybe I might add some more blossoms right up there. Up here where I made this big mess because I wasn't paying attention and I dropped a big blob of brown water on there. I'm going to try to keep working on that a little bit and see if I can get it to look a little bit better. Now, of course, the end of this brush isn't nearly as fine as that other one that I had, so the ends of my branches aren't going to be as thick. as thin. that's okay. You can make it look different. You have to be careful not to get too much water, because if you do, it'll kind of bleed out a little bit. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me go back and add a little bit of red up there at the top. And it's okay for it to continue off of the page, because you don't always get everything in the whole picture. Sometimes you can't see everything. There's more going on outside the picture. See if I can get, yeah, we almost got all that covered up. That big brown spot I made. Yeah. Let's see, add a little bit more over here. Ooh, that's really dark. I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so I think I'm about done. I might take, and like I said, it's your picture. You can do it however you want. It doesn't have to be like anyone else's. I think I'm going to take a little smidge of green. I think I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of green on there too. Ooh, that's too much. It's got too much water. Let me get a little bit of that water off. And I'm just going to add a little bit of green here and there, just for something different. Just a smidge. Not a lot of green, because the green isn't out as much whenever these cherry blossoms are all in bloom. But I'm going to have just a smidge of it coming out. A little green on the end of some of these little branches, just for interest. Kind of like that. Not too much green, just a little bit. Not too overpowering or anything. Just a smidge. Now you can see the difference in where I put a lot of the red on there, and then where there wasn't as much water, and then wherever I put the thicker red, where there was less water. More water is going to make it look more pink. Less water is going to make it look more red. So there's that. So, like I said, I don't want to put too much. I just wanted to give just a smidge with the green a little bit. So, there we go. Now, once it dries, you can sign your name down in the bottom. You can sign it over here if you want to. But I'll come back later once it's dry, and I'll take a final picture for you guys to see. And like I said, I'd love to see what you guys have made. So get your parents to send me a picture of what you guys have come up with, okay? I hope you all have a great afternoon, and I'll see you later. Bye.